Hey everyone, Patrick here, doing my review of an oldie but a goodie. It's 1984's The Terminator. I recently checked this out. The guys couldn't believe, they were like, yo, you've never seen Terminator? Like, what? So I was like, they were like, alright, you gotta watch this. So I was like, alright, I'll watch it. And I did. I knew not much about this movie except for his infamous line of, I'll be back, from Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so I was interested to see what this movie was about. Didn't know anything about the universe going in other than there was these metal, like, robots fighting humans. That's kind of all I really knew about this franchise, and there was, like, some sort of time travel aspect to it. Other than that, I was walking in blind, guys. And, of course, this one was, a surprise to me in a lot of ways. The intro, overall, I thought was pretty long. Very stereotypical of stuff you'd see back in, like, the 80s. And those older classic films, like just really long, drawn-out intros where they're like, showing the cast name and stuff like that. The music was really good, but I felt like the intro was just too long for me personally. They could have sped it along a little quicker. But overall, that's something not too big to worry about. Animation of the Terminator during action sequences I thought was kind of cool. It was very stereotypical of older films, because the computer technology just didn't exist, so they kind of had to make do with the technology they had at the time. And so we move now into the character of Sarah Connor, our main protagonist in this movie. She's played by Linda Hamilton. I think she was a pretty cool, well-rounded, solid character. You see her as a waitress at a restaurant, and she's not very good at her job. She does enough to pass by and try to make people happy, but crazy stuff still happens on a day-to-day basis, So they kind of set her on this journey that, she's not good at this job. She probably would get fired at some point, more than likely, but overall, she's just enough to pass by. Then you have your antagonist. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't know he's a robot yet, but he comes from the future, and he immediately gets involved in all these hijinks, and he's hurting people, killing people. So you know something's going on right away, that something's big is going on. And then you see this other character played by Michael Biehn, Kyle, and he also comes into this world the same way that Arnold's character does, via like this lightning teleportation, and then you find out it's actually time travel. And you can't bring anything with you, just your person, the person, you yourself. No weapons, no clothing, no nothing. It's just you when you time travel. And then we find out later in the movie, he's actually stuck in the past. He can't go back to his time, which is pretty crazy. And later on in the movie, he gets involved with Linda Hamilton's character and of Sarah Connor. And of course, it's really weird. They get into this love angle, and for me personally, the love angle just wasn't working for me. It was rushed. He fell in love because he saw her in a photograph. I mean, that's like I guess in a way it's 1980s, fall in love with some centerfold girl from a poster or something. I guess, teenage brain for those teenagers back in that time period. Yeah, I can see something like that happening. More modern day, you see someone's picture, you're not going to go, "Ooh, I love you," immediately. So for me, it was not a big deal to me. And then later on, you kind of find out, oh my gosh, this is insane. This guy who falls in love with her is going to later get her pregnant, and then that's going to turn out to be her son. So his dad comes from the future, but you don't see him in this movie. That's something that happens later. But what's cool is Arnold's character comes back to try to kill her before he's born because he's the hero of this future war, which is like a really cool concept, that they would go back to the past to try to screw up the timeline. And it's borderline like a really interesting plot you don't see in a lot of movies where you're talking about, like, there's always that concept we always thought of in our heads. It was like, what would happen if someone time traveled back and took out baby Hitler? Same idea. Now, you get down to the conclusion of this at the computer factory, the robot factory as I call it, where they get chased in and there's the big fight. There's gunshots going off. The robot's getting damaged during the chase leading up to that, and then now he's in the factory getting damaged, but nothing is killing this dude. He's unstoppable. He gets down to his actual skeleton form. It's not just Arnold, it's the skeleton underneath Arnold. And that's what's chasing after them. It's completely evil, just rampaging and rampaging. And what's crazy is that part gets a little scary for a lot of people, especially younger audiences, I would imagine, especially back in the 80s. That had to be terrifying. For me, it was just kind of like, whoa, this is like a terror-inducing villain here. That's really cool and intimidating. And right as you think the Terminator's dead, he's never dead. He just keeps coming after and coming after her. And then finally, he crawls in. She hits the button right as the claw's coming at her face. And the press comes down and just crushes that metal. Just the pressure crushes it. And it was interesting, but yeah. And as soon as Sarah Connor got pregnant earlier in the film, I thought, that man's a dead man, because he's advancing the plot. He does not have plot armor, ladies and gentlemen. And man, was I right. I saw that from a mile away. That was a little too predictable for me. I knew Mr. Man from the future loved her so much he was going to sacrifice himself. So that was one of the few drawbacks of this film, is I saw he was going to die at some point. However, the big positives of this movie, the plot was really good. The tension was great. The side characters that kept getting killed off were advancing the plot, or this, side character C over here that advanced the plot in some mild way. Really cool. Really enjoyed that. That was great. The pacing was solid all the way straight through. I had some nitpicks here and there, as you guys have heard so far. But what was so cool, actually, was at the end of the movie, she flees to what we believe, at least, is Mexico. Which is kind of cool to see where that's going to advance for in the story moving forward. Because now she's going to have to learn Spanish and stuff's going to happen. But she's left America now. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen there and where that's going to go. Because now she knows about this war from the future that's going to happen. And what's that going to do to her psyche? What's that going to do to, her plans moving forward? Is she going to flee in fear? Is she gonna stand and fight? We don't know. So you guys have already seen this, so you already know where the story goes moving forward for most of you out there. This is just my introduction to the franchise. I'm learning things as I'm going along. I had no idea what to expect with this. This first movie, while not the best thing since sliced bread, it was a fun romp. I had a really good time with it. Just me being nitpicky over small details as usual. Overall, fun film. I think Arnold did a great job being that stoic villain. He was always that was probably my favorite part of the whole movie, is actually Arnold keeping that just like stern face the whole movie. So, alright. I give it 2 thumbs up, guys. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but I still, 2 thumbs up, solid. And, I think that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this funny overall review of the Terminator, and hopefully here soon we'll have something for Terminator 2. So thank you guys so much. I'm Patrick, also known as Gano136 for Red Shirts, signing out.